The rain had just begun to fall, thin, trembling strands against the vast glass windows of the city's tallest building, when Elijah Kane pushed through the revolving doors of Morgan and Wolf Enterprises, soaked halfway to the bone but too proud to shake off the droplets clinging to his frayed coat. He didn't belong in places like this, skyscrapers that scraped the sky like arrogant fingers, boardrooms polished until they reflected ambition, and people too busy conquering the world to notice the janitor they just stepped past. But Elijah wasn't there to clean floors today. He was there for a chance. A long shot. A move he didn't even know was on the board until yesterday. He walked in with nothing more than a backpack, a pawn-sized resume, and a 6-year-old chess prodigy waiting with a babysitter 3 floors down. No suit, no tie, no connections, just grit, an old love for strategy, and the burden of raising his son after life had folded all his plans like a defeated king. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and stories where even the underdog has a fighting shot at redemption, love, and triumph, please like, comment, and subscribe to Kindness Speaks. Every gesture of support helps us keep sharing powerful stories that restore faith in the human spirit. It had started as a joke, or so the world thought. "Beat me in chess and I'll marry you," Cassandra Wolf tweeted on a late Thursday night, her caption clipped beneath a picture of her seated beside her Grandmaster trophy and an untouched board. The post went viral before the morning sun could rise. Memes, reactions, videos, all of it exploded across social media. But buried in the chaos was a lesser-known clause, her company's annual hiring challenge. A game of chess. Beat her, and you'd win an executive position. Fail, and your application would be tossed. Elijah had watched the tweet appear on his phone's cracked screen with a chuckle that quickly died into silence. He couldn't sleep that night. Not because of the joke, but because of what that position could mean. Rent that wasn't always late. A warm coat for miles. Maybe even a night off where he didn't fall asleep folding laundry on the couch. So he submitted his story, raw and real, in a short video, explaining how he once ranked in the top 100 collegiate players, how he gave up tournaments to care for his pregnant girlfriend, and how he ended up losing both the love of his life and his degree within the same year. He talked about Miles, his son, who had a laugh like springtime and questions too big for his father's small apartment. And somehow, out of thousands, his application had been noticed. The moment he walked into that boardroom and saw Cassandra sitting there, cool and elegant with an amused glint in her eyes, Elijah knew 2 things. 1, she wasn't expecting a challenge, and 2, she wasn't ready for someone who played for something far greater than pride. The match began with ceremonial silence. Elijah took black. She opened with e4. He replied with c5, the Sicilian defense. And from that moment, her fate was sealed. Her confidence, though not arrogance, blinded her to the trap he quietly laid on move 2. On move 3, she blinked, paused, tilted her head, but it was too late. The 4th move came like thunder across the polished table. Checkmate. She stared at the board, the impossible final position holding in place like a mirror to her own disbelief. He didn't gloat, didn't smirk. He simply sat back, breathed slowly, and let the silence wrap around them like a fog. She looked up at him, lips parted, one eyebrow slightly raised. Then, with the slow blooming of something too complex to name, she whispered, "Who taught you that?" He smiled faintly. Life. Scene 2. The woman behind the wall. Cassandra Wolf was not used to losing. Not on boards, not in business, not in anything she cared about. But what rattled her wasn't the loss, it was how effortlessly he'd done it. 3 moves. Not reckless, not lucky, calculated, precise, beautiful. For the first time in years, someone had made her feel something other than indifference toward defeat. There was something else there, humility and curiosity. She offered him the role, of course. It was policy, but more than policy, it was intrigue. She told her assistant to fast-track his papers and assigned him to her personal strategy division, a high-level think tank that answered only to her. And yet, she didn't know why she did it. But she watched him. Elijah showed up every day in clean but worn clothes. He never asked for help, never lingered. He got his work done, stayed late, and always left early enough to catch someone important, his son. The staff whispered at first, about the single dad who beat the CEO and worked like he was scared it would all vanish. But whispers faded, because Elijah earned respect faster than he asked for it. Meanwhile, Cassandra found herself wandering past the break room just to see if he was there. She found herself pausing at his whiteboard notes during late-night walkthroughs. And she couldn't explain why her evenings felt heavier when he wasn't in the building. She had walls, steel-reinforced, sky-high walls built by years of betrayal, power games, and watching men in suits treat her as a prize or a rival, never a person. But Elijah wasn't trying to scale her walls. He wasn't trying to win her. He wasn't even looking her way. And maybe that was what made her notice him even more. Scene 3. The opening gambit. It was a Thursday evening when it finally happened. The office was empty. Rain again. The kind that muted the world outside. Cassandra was staring out of her corner office window when Elijah knocked lightly and stepped inside. He held a stack of reports, one of them stamped urgent. She waved him in, and as he stepped closer, she noticed something different. Tired eyes, slower movements, a shadow behind his composure. She asked if everything was all right. He hesitated. Then, for the first time, he let his truth spill like ink across the table. Miles was sick. Nothing dire, but enough to keep him out of daycare. And Elijah had no one else. No support, no sick days left. The pressure was crushing him. Cassandra sat still as stone, but inside, something shifted. The next morning, an HR memo went out granting Elijah a temporary work-from-home pass with full benefits. A private car was sent to pick up Miles for medical care, on the company's dime. And when Elijah tried to thank her, all she said was, "Play me again. Tonight, no stakes, just a game." That night, over tea and an antique board she kept in her study, they played in silence. No clocks, no pressure, just two lives slowly unwinding across black and white squares. She lost again, but this time, she laughed. He didn't understand what was happening between them. But she did. He was breaking through. Scene 4. Checkmate in the heart. Weeks passed, then months. And one night, at a company gala, beneath chandeliers and champagne flutes, Cassandra stepped out onto the balcony in a crimson gown that shimmered like firelight. Elijah stood there, alone, looking out at the skyline. She joined him, close, but not too close. And softly, with eyes that didn't flinch, she asked, "If I meant it, the tweet, would you still say yes?" He turned to her, confused. She clarified, "The marriage part." He looked into her, truly looked, and said the most terrifying, disarming thing she'd ever heard. "I wouldn't marry a CEO. I'd marry Cassandra, if she ever let someone in." She froze, not from fear, but from the slow, crumbling sound of her last defense falling. And she knew, he wasn't chasing her, he was standing still, and she was the one walking forward. They didn't rush. Love built slowly between them like a long game, careful, intentional, full of sacrifice and beauty. Miles adored her, and she, to everyone's shock, adored him back. Elijah taught her how to slow down. She taught him how to dream again. One day, as spring painted the trees outside their quiet home, Elijah set up a board on the kitchen table. "Your move," he said with a smile. She laughed. "I don't fall for traps anymore." He raised an eyebrow. "You sure?" She sat down, and 3 moves later, she realized he wasn't trying to win. He pushed a ring box across the board. And for once, Cassandra Wolf, master strategist, grandmaster of cold logic, and queen of her world, cried. Because she hadn't seen that move coming. And it was the most beautiful checkmate of all. If this story touched your heart, if it made you believe in second chances, quiet heroes, and the kind of love that grows not through grand gestures but steady steps, then please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Kindness Speaks. Your support keeps these stories alive and spreading kindness around the world. Speech balloon special request. Tell us in the comments, what was your favorite moment in the story? Would you have fallen in love over a game of chess? Let us know below. Speech balloon.